Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. It's indeed a great pleasure to see each one of you as a part of this Ganga Anesthesia Refresher course. The mission of this is together, each one of us have to work hard to raise the bar of the anesthesia practice in this country. And time has come that we become a global leader in the fraternity of anesthesia. So we have only one mission, and I think seeing the way people have responded to the meeting and the participation of the anesthesiologist from across the country, I'm extremely confident that each one of you will put your might to make sure every patient who passes through you gets the best possible perioperative care, and you become one of the safest anesthetists in the globe. In other words, when you're faced with dire consequences and unexpected complications, a workshop like this on simulation, to work on case scenarios which is really alarming if you're not mentally prepared. So here is a great opportunity to hone our skills, to think something differently, to think in a systematic way, to make sure that you come to a solution in a lightning, fast manner so that you preserve every life, every patient who is getting anesthetized by you. And to do this, you have some of the best in this field in the globe. How do you define somebody who is the best? The definition of the best comes from the strategic planning that is done to execute something which is to be executed. And all the faculties who are doing the simulation workshop here, they came in from various parts of this globe 2 days before. Believe me, yesterday, the whole day, starting from 9 a.m. until 6:30 p.m., they worked through everything that they're going to do today. Strategic planning and the will to accomplish that results in an excellent outcome. So you're with some dedicated faculty who are very passionate to teach and who also wanted to give back to the country what they received from this country, led by the course director, Dr. Sendil Kumran, who works in the College Hospital of Northampton. And this is the third consecutive year that he has been here with the team. Thank you so much, sir, for all the efforts that you have taken to make it one of the best courses, one of the best workshops ever, because the feedback in the last 2 years has been phenomenal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And Dr. Sendil Kumaran has got a lovely contingent of equally passionate teachers. I have Dr. Karunakaran Ramasamy, who is here for the second time again. He's also from Northampton. Excellent teacher.
Okay.
And thank you so much, KK, for being here. Please come in. Then we have Dr. Shiv Kumar, again working in Northampton, who is again passionate in simulation. He's with us here. Subramanya Mahankali, consultant anesthesiologist at Columbia Asia Hospital, Bangalore, has been part of the simulation team, and it's a honor to have you with you, Subbu. Dr. Guna also was trained in UK, and now he's settled down in Chennai at Savitha Medical College, who's been part of a simulation workshop for the last 3 years. And the 5 of them are going to take you through one of the best parts of what you're going to face and experience today. This workshop in particular needs tremendous amount of input and support from the industry, and we are extremely fortunate to have 2 best industrial leaders in this aspect of teaching. We have from Ladle. Can you all stand up for a minute? Can we get the stand up people? Stand up. Thank you so much. They moved in all their equipments that is needed 3 days before. They worked on it before they presented it to the faculty. Again shows the commitment and strategic planning. Thank you very much for making it a possibility. Please convey our wishes to higher authorities. Look forward for similar cooperation in the days to come. And we are even fortunate today, really fortunate to have today.
The next team is also there.
Yeah, two stalwarts who lead the world in the educational front, who are working hard to make safe anesthesia, safe teaching of anesthesia, reach to thousands of people across the globe. And I have great pleasure in introducing to you Dr. Wayne Morris, who was the Educational Committee Chair of the World Federation of Society of Anesthesiologists. From there got promoted because of his excellent inputs and work for WFSA. He has been made the Director of Programs, a very important position in the World Federation, and he's in charge of several of activities, a very busy person, crisscrosses the globe, but extremely thankful for being with us today morning. Dr. Wayne Morris is from New Zealand, and thank you so much. And the new Educational Committee Chair who took over from Dr. Wayne Morris is Dr. Mayo Drag. Mayo Drag has served, another passionate person who has served the fraternity of anesthesia, and he's from Serbia. So he has traveled all the way to be with us the next 4 days, and when they landed up yesterday, they looked very tired, but today morning they become extremely bright. I think it's because of the very warm sunshine that affected them. So no sleep. The melanin pigment, the sleep center is not working anymore. So thank you so much, both of you, for being here. And oh, it's great. So we have the President of Indian Society of Anesthesiologists, Dr. B.B. Mishra, who has traveled all the way from Bhubaneswar, and again he would be with us the next 4 days, and together, as I said, we will ably support to all the possible extent to make Indian Society of Anesthesiologists a very vibrant and a society which will promote education in all aspects. Thank you so much for coming, sir. And as I said, the next company apart from Lidl is the Sanders. So we have the experts from Sanders. They got a beautiful set of mannequins, and they've set an excellent workstation for you. Sincere thanks to you and your company for making this a possibility, and I'm sure we're going to have a great time with you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. With these introductions, I'm sure you will enjoy the day, and the most important aspect is it just doesn't end up here. You should become the torchbearer in your respective regions. You should become the trainer of a similar workshops all over the country. So in few years' time, every patient in this country should have an excellent perioperative course without any morbidity and mortality. And if we do that, we have done justice for being an anesthesiologist, for having been born in a country where the population is so huge and the challenges are a lot. So without giving excuses, we get trained to become the best. With this, I hand over the proceedings to Dr. Sendil Kumaran. We are a bit late, but I'm sure he will make it up in the course of time. Over to Dr. Sendil.
Thank you very much. There's a mic, so yeah. I think Dr. Bala had covered almost all things, but he failed to mention one aspect. His team over here, the organizing committee, with a lot of background staff, I will introduce them in a moment, have been great pillars of support. You only had to ask, and it was provided yesterday, and they have been doing this for the last 3 years. And this level of support and commitment, we from Northampton and all over the world, as you mentioned, are ever so grateful, sir, and thank you very much. And before I get the formal proceedings started, thank you every single delegate and visiting faculties and expert observers today. Hopefully you'll have a good experience taking away positive things from here. And as Dr. Bala said, it is the start of a journey, and it's the start of a journey in terms of finding a different dimension in how we teach and impart the practice of anesthesia, keeping safety and quality improvements in our everyday life. It's not something for a conference alone. We need to take this on to the bedside, to your hospitals and everything else. And this is, I believe, it's the start of the journey. And I'm afraid there are a few more delegates on the way, I believe, but for the interest of time and scheduling, we will get going, and hopefully all of those teams will start to join us and be part of the today's proceedings. Dr. KK and Dr. Subbu are distributing the color codings. So hopefully we would have distributed all the 6 teams to be presented. And once we have allocated that, I'll give a brief introduction as to what this session would mean. And hopefully you've had the videos through the WhatsApp messaging group to give us an idea and a flavor of what simulation is all about. So today's proceedings will be focusing on some knowledge base. We are not here to review the knowledge base in its depth, but there's something much more less spoken about, which is our non-technical skills, team working skills, task management, situational awareness. So there's 4 themes to non-technical skills. We'll keep going on about it all day. We will not be ashamed of repeating ourselves, but we will try and put those topics in relevance to each of the performances. And I will be ever so grateful if the team who are performers and the observers are active participants. This is an interactive workshop. It is all about you, and we are the facilitators. We are not here to say what you're supposed to do. You are going to discover what you're supposed to do. We will be facilitating that discussion and trying to crystallize the thoughts around it, and hopefully there will be a few take-home messages for you. So that's what we aim to do. So as I said, the objectives of the workshop is to try and catch up some of the knowledge base, but less of a focus. So although it's on the top, that's not what we are trying to look at. And of course, there's no substitute for not knowing what you're supposed to do. That's the bottom line. So don't get me wrong that we are ignoring the knowledge base. I'm assuming the knowledge base will be easily assimilated at this point. I might be wrong, but that's the assumption today. And having acquired the knowledge, is that all enough? When we have acquired the knowledge, can we assume that we have understood that knowledge base? I would argue that it is not the case, and I will try and explain that a little bit later. So we need to get some understanding about how the knowledge we have acquired should be used on the workflow, and we look at how we do that. Some of the principles involved is something called crisis resource management, a term borrowed from science called human factor engineering. Nuclear industry, aviation industry, space industry have been leading in it. We have caught up with it eventually, but we are very much in the forefront now, simply because we are dealing with some patients who are unpredictable. No single patient is the same from the other. You can say the Boeing aircraft has exactly the same controls everywhere. You couldn't necessarily say this is how another human being will be behaving. So we are much more in a necessary state that we have to employ human factor engineering in the way we teach and impart our training. Oh yes, and of course, no team is going to be a good team until we have a process by which we communicate with each other. We all come from different cultures and different backgrounds, but if you have to say something, we have to say something, and that has to be understood. And we will look at how that is understood in the context of patient care. So why do we have to do simulation? Why can't we just do what we have been doing all the way around? When we start anesthesia training, or for that matter, any specialty training, we walk into this theater conscious that we are not competent at all. We are absolutely nervous, sweating, and we are very conscious that we have nothing to offer and all to gain. That's the state of mind we come in. Within 6 months to a year after, we work along with our colleagues, observe experiential learning, and we subconsciously try to get the idea of what decision making is all about. We never talk about explicitly how we make decisions. We observe and we try to do a few things. It doesn't work, then we try it differently, then it works. Then you finally come to a decision, this is how I'm going to do certain things. So that's what we in human factors call hermeneutic learning, which is basically trial and error learning. That's the sort of fundamental learning process we have evolved right through our generations. But there are two other things which human factor engineering, which is discipline combining psychology and engineering coming together has given us a couple of other tools to improve on this process. And one is called cognitive bias, debiasing. Cognitive errors or cognitive process is something which is a science which looks at how we think about things. It's all about us within our heads, not necessarily about the knowledge base. Knowledge base is going to help us thinking, but the fundamental way in which we think is based on we as human beings. And we are trying to look at some tools from this faculty of science to help us think about how we process our thought process. So we'll cover a little bit of what is called cognitive biasing, and simulation training can help us do that. So after having done a year or so in anesthetic training, some of you are probably in that state here in this teams, you come to a level of conscious competence. You are comfortable with doing some basic anesthesia skills and patient care. Nice state to be, so you suddenly come up from a very nervous state to what is stable in your mind. But then you go on to a stage where you become experts in the field. You don't have to think too much as to how you do your daily jobs. You're becoming unconsciously competent. It's a good state to be, and we all like to be there forever in that state of mind. But is that true? Do we all stay in that state of mind all the way through? I would say probably not. So this is a very awkward state to be, unconsciously incompetent. So you think you've been an expert, but you've been doing some specialty work for many, many years in the same place and probably not updated yourself with what goes on in the rest of the world. That's one possibility. Or the chances are that you don't have a clinical work outside of what you do. So how do we, if we are confronted with something very unusual, do we have the skills and the necessary thought process to deal with it? And this is where we don't want to be, and simulation can be a very, very useful tool to unmask that problem. And I'm very, very glad and thankful to see some senior people coming into the delegate team, and we would be using your skills to help with running the simulation along with the rest. So the team is going to be a mix of various skill levels and experience. So this is just recap of what I've said. And this is a tool which is going on for many years about non-technical skills. The 4 arms to it is basically leadership. How do we have to, if you have to be a leader, do we assume that we are a leader or somebody has to be designated? We will talk about it during the course of the workshop. How do we plan and prioritize what we are supposed to do in an emergency situation? Are we aware of what's going on? Is the team all pulling in the same direction? Are they all working to a different script? Are we all singing the same song? So that's the theme which we'll be looking at. And hopefully, if there is time permitting, we'll try and look at what our thinking processes are and how we decide. So 2 elements to it. One is the automatic thinking process. That's what we do on everyday basis. When you're driving from home to work, you do not think about every turn you take and every break you put. You just land up at the hospital. And that's a very automatic thinking process. That's something which we have learned and taught ourselves. It's a very efficient way of thinking. And it makes you less tired. But if you're going to be thinking about every single turn you have to take and come to work, which is familiar, you're going to be extremely tired. By the time you read a few pages and read every single alphabet and a word in it, you're going to be taking hours together to read a page. So we use what is called automatic thinking process. That's very well efficient. That's how mankind has evolved. But when situations comes to a fix where there is a massive clinical emergency which you're not confronted for the last few years, what do? It is very important to switch away from that unconscious thinking process to a conscious thinking process. And that is what protocols, practice sessions, and team training will help you unlock. And coming together and working together as a team is, I would say, 80% of the work, 20% is knowledge in order to have a successful outcome. It is that focus we're going to carry through the workshop all through the day. And while we get prepared, I would like you to watch this video and try and explain the point about whether knowledge equals understanding. So it's a little funny video to have a look. Thank you for your time.
But I did something. I did something that damaged my mind. It happened on the streets of Amsterdam, and I got really scared, honestly. I can't ride a bike like you can anymore. Before I show you the video of what happened, I need to tell you the backstory. Like many 6-year-olds with a MacGyver mullet, I learned how to ride a bike when I was really young. I had learned a life skill and I was really proud of it. Everything changed though when my friend Barney called me 25 years later. Where I work, the welders are geniuses and they like to play jokes on the engineers. He had a challenge for me. He had built a special bicycle and he wanted me to try to ride it. He had only changed one thing. When you turn the handlebar to the left, the wheel goes to the right. When you turn it to the right, the wheel goes to the left. I thought this would be easy, so I hopped on the bike ready to demonstrate how quickly I could conquer this.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Destin Sandlin. First attempt riding the bicycle.
All right. So the faster I go, the better. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. You can see that I'm laughing, but I'm actually really frustrated. In this moment, I had a really deep revelation. My thinking was in a rut. This bike revealed a very deep truth to me. I had the knowledge of how to operate the bike, but I did not have the understanding. Therefore, knowledge is not understanding. Look, I know what you're probably thinking. Destin's probably just an uncoordinated engineer and can't do it. But that's not the case at all. The algorithm that's associated with riding a bike in your brain is just that complicated. Think about it. Downwards force on the pedals, leaning your whole body, pulling and pushing the handlebars, gyroscopic precession in the wheels. Every single force is part of this algorithm. And if you change any one part, it affects the entire control system. I do not make definitive statements that often, but I'm telling you right now, you cannot ride this bicycle. You might think you can, but you can't. I know this because I'm often asked to speak at universities and conferences and I take the bike with me. It's always the same. People think they're going to try some trick or they're just going to power through it. It doesn't work. Your brain cannot handle this. For instance, this guy, I offered him $200 just to ride this bike 10 feet across the stage. Everybody thought he could do it.
No, you didn't understand. You didn't understand. So, this way. Okay. All right, a second. All right, so, whenever you're ready. Yeah. Wait. No, you have to keep your feet on. Dude, all right, here we go. Wait. Like, you gotta start rolling at least. And go. Oh, go! Alright, back up. Okay, wait. Keep your feet on the pedal. Go. Go right on. Just keep your feet on the pedals. Handles on them. Yeah, come on. Alright, one more time. Okay.
Once you have a rigid way of thinking in your head, sometimes you cannot change that, even if you want to. So here's what I did. It was a personal challenge. I stayed out here in this driveway and I practiced about 5 minutes every day. My neighbors made fun of me. I had many wrecks, but after 8 months, this happened. One day I couldn't ride the bike and the next day I could. It was like I could feel some kind of pathway in my brain that was now unlocked. It was really weird though. It's like there's this trail in my brain, but if I wasn't paying close enough attention to it, my brain would easily lose that neural path and jump back onto the old road it was more familiar with. Any small distractions at all, like a cell phone ringing in my pocket, would instantly throw my brain back to the old control algorithm and I would wreck. But at least I could ride it. My son is the closest person to me genetically, and he's been riding a normal bike for 3 years. That's over half his life. I wanted to know how long it would take him to learn how to ride a backwards bike, so I told him if he learned how to ride a backwards bike, he could go with me to Australia and meet a real astronaut. Are you going to give up?
No.
Go ahead. This is how it starts. Look at this. This is such a big deal. Get up, you got it. Did you see his brain get it? So in how many weeks have we been doing this? 2 weeks? In 2 weeks, he did something that took me 8 months to do, which demonstrates that a child has more neuroplasticity, am I even saying that right, than an adult. It's clear from this experiment that children have a much more plastic brain than adults. That's why the best time to learn a language is when you're a young child. All right, today's bike log. I can ride smooth, I can ride fast. I'm thinking the experiment is over. Okay, now I'm in Amsterdam, a city that has more bicycles than people. The question is, can I ride a normal bike now? I mean, I've spent all this time unlearning how to ride a bike. If I go back and try to ride a normal one, will my brain mess up? So I've tweeted a Smarter Everyday meetup, if you will, and I'm gonna see if somebody brings a bicycle and I'm gonna try to ride a normal bike.
It's backwards. It's backwards.
This was one of the most frustrating moments of my life. I had ridden a normal bike since I was 6, but in this moment, I couldn't do it anymore. I had set out to prove that I could free my brain from a cognitive bias. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that all I proved is that I could only redesignate that bias.
So what you're not seeing is just a group of people here looking at me, looking at the strange American that can't ride a bike because they think I'm dumb. But I'm actually 2 levels deep into this because I've learned and unlearned. All right.
After 20 minutes of making a fool out of myself, suddenly my brain clicked back into the old algorithm. I can't explain it, but it happened in a very specific moment.
Got it. I'm back. Oh, it clicked. Hold on, it clicked. I got it. Okay, there it is. There was the moment. Okay, I can ride a bike.
I tried to explain this to the people around me, and they just didn't get it. They thought I was faking the previous 20 minutes, and I couldn't get anybody to believe me.
That looked like I faked that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Just a fake. You think I'm faking. You don't believe me.
That looks so weird. You were like, la la, and it's full.
You think I'm lying, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I'm not lying.
I felt like the only person on the planet who had ever unlearned how to ride a bike, and I couldn't articulate it to anyone because everybody just knew that you can't forget how to ride a bike. So I learned 3 things from this experiment. I learned that welders are often smarter than engineers. I learned that knowledge does not equal understanding. And I learned that truth is truth, no matter what I think about it. So be very careful how you interpret things because you're looking at the world with a bias, whether you think you are or not. I'm Destin. You're getting smarter every day. Have a good one.
Okay, if you want to support Smarter Every Day, you can download a free audiobook at audible.com.
Right, on the same note, I want our audience participation now, and it's a competition time. There's going to be a series of slides. I'll probably give 10 seconds or so for the participants and the experts in the room to look at it and give me some answers. So that's the job. Identify the frequency of colors in the following slides. We are identifying colors, not boxes or anything else, just colors. And it's not my own fic of imagination. It's a well-validated tool for testing thinking. Right. How many reds, how many blues, how many oranges? Or whatever color. So just have a look. 10 seconds. In your mind. Okay. Right. What do we have? How many reds? 4. What were the other colors? Yellow 3. Blue. And others? So how many colors were there totally? 4 colors. Great. Okay. Now, I want to again remember how many colors are there on this slide. Colors. Only colors, not alphabets. Okay, we got that, yeah? What about now? How many colors again? 4 colors. And how many of each colors? Have a think and keep it in your mind. Yeah, got it? All had a look? Everybody? Okay. Is that right? Good. But was it easy on the first 2? First slide was easy to pick up what the colors were. The boxes and the colors were same. And the second time, the words were written in the same colors. The third time, the words were different and written in different colors. And the mind is trying to read the word, but not recognize the color. And that's the bias which we have in terms of automatic thinking. So it's the same thing. Yeah, we know what colors are. We can identify colors given it. But necessarily, in some situations where there's a bit of confusion, we start to use our learned pattern behavior to come to a conclusion. But reality in clinical scenarios, we have to look at what is the evidence on the scene rather than try and make up what the evidence should be and then treat accordingly. And this is the biggest challenge. So I'll give you 20 seconds. And there is a prize for the correct answer. There is a prize for the correct answer. You're all in competition. You all got it? And the answer is? Who got this? And put the hands up. You got it? You got the answer correct? Who got the answers correct? Somebody who was the closest to this numbers. You got it closest to the number 2 and 3. So 3 people. You got 3 prizes. Good. I was hoping that only one will get the prize, so we're going to ask you to all share this prize among the first three. Well done, guys. Thank you. All right, okay. So now it's time to group ourselves into teams. Already some teams have been assigned. Hopefully, okay. So the red team, which are the teams which is going to be in this place now? So whoever is going to be in room B for the first one, please assemble here. Yeah. Yeah, you take over then.